Good afternoon, everyone. We'll start the program. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sheila Lobien, and I'm your co-moderator for this afternoon's general membership meeting of the Management Association of the Philippines. On behalf of the Board of Governors, I would like to call this MAP General Membership Meeting to order. But before we start, let me first call the Chair of the Management Association Trade and Investment and Tourism Committee. And when you think of supply chain procurement, you'll only think of one name, and that's our Chair, Mr. Charlie Villaseñor.
Good afternoon. It's good to be here. I am pleased to be the co-moderator for today's general membership meeting as organized by the committee which I actually head, which is the Trade, Investment, and Tourism Committee. I'm fortunate to be the co-anchor of our co-chairman, who is actually Sheila Lobien. So to start off, why don't we start off with the invocation and the Philippine national item? Please rise for the invocation. Then please remain standing for the Philippine national anthem.
All right. So let us bow our heads in prayer. Thank you, Lord Almighty, for this opportunity for MAP members and guests to gather together for this MAP General Membership Meeting. Give our speaker and reactors good health so they can push for their initiatives in attracting more local and foreign investments in the tourism industry that will be creating more jobs for our countrymen. Bless our newly elected MAP governors for 2023 to 2024 who will be announced later, and give them the wisdom to help the MAP pursue its mission of promoting management excellence for nation building. Provide good health to our MAP Management Man of the Year 2022 awardee, who will also be announced later, and all the other previous awardees, so they can continue inspiring MAP members and others to contribute to employment generation and poverty eradication. Grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and wisdom to know the difference. Let us also pause for a moment to pray for the eternal repose of our MAP member, Carlos Charlie Aquino Agatep, Chair of Grupo Agatep Incorporated, who passed away on September 12, 2022 at the age of 91. We ask all these in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, elas ang silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Upang pinirang, kuya ka ng magiting, sa manluluping, di ka masisigil, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mo babaw, ay hinagang tula, kawit sa pagkayang minamahal, ang isang ng matawag mo'y tagumpay na nagtitindig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pang ay magtitindig, lumalang araw ng warhabit pagsingka, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang hinigaya na pagkay mga akin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Kindly be seated and feel free to continue enjoying your lunch and coffee. For the welcome remarks, may I kindly call on our dear President of MAP and the President and CEO of Metro Pacific Water, Secretary Babe Singson.
You'll have to forgive my one-arm situation. I just had my surgery, so anyway, Secretary Cristina Garcia Frasco, our good friend Secretary Fred Pascual, our distinguished panel reactors, friends from the government, the diplomatic community, civil society, the media, fellow MAP members, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to all of you. Thank you. On behalf of the MAP Board of Governors, we'd like to thank Secretary Frasco, who will be joining us shortly, and of course Secretary Pascual for your presence, as we welcome all of you to this MAP General Membership Meeting on Tourism Outlook Beyond 2022. Thank you to the MAP Trade, Investments and Tourism Committee, particularly led by Chair Charlie Villaseñor, Vice Chair Sheila Lobien, and of course Shell Habito as the Governor in charge for coordinating and co-moderating this GMM. Please allow me to highlight what your MAP Board has done on some burning national issues, and then I will go through briefly very important announcements that we will have this morning. Recently, the MAP, through the Infrastructure Committee chaired by Eddie Yap, who happens to celebrate his birthday today, with Glicer Sikat as Vice Chair, we recently released a statement supporting DOTR with 30 other private groups, urging the EDSA busway system privatization to ease commuters' daily grind. We have gotten very good support from Secretary Jimmy Bautista when we had 2 dialogues with him and his technical people. MAP is now taking the lead in getting as many business groups and foreign chambers as possible to co-sign the joint statement of support for the Anti-Red Tape Authority, or ARTA. On September 15, we released MAP's statement welcoming the appointments of DOE Secretary Attorney Lotilla and ERC Chairperson Dimalanta. Now, based on the MAP ICT Committee chaired by Patrick Reidenbach, the MAP supports the executive order and the Senate bill on critical information infrastructure protection. Allow me to make some major announcements. Who will be the 46th recipient of the Management Man or Person of the year 2022? It's not going to be announced by me. MMY Judging Committee Chair Ed Chua will shortly present our 2022 awardee as approved by the MAP Board of Governors in our meeting this morning. Thank you to MMY Judging Committee with Attorney Lilia De Lima as Vice Chair for producing this year's awardee. Thank you also to the MMY Search Committee chaired by Past President Gigi Montinola with Francis Lim as Vice Chair. I'd like to congratulate in advance our very deserving awardee. In today's meeting, you will also know the 5 elected MAP governors for the years 2023 to 2024, which will be announced by the MAP Nominations and Election Committee chaired by Ms. Malu Cristobal. We would like to thank SGV and Company, headed by MAP Treasurer Wilson Tan, for once again providing the third-party verification of the MAP Secretariat's encoding of the email votes and the tabulation of reports. Congratulations and good luck to our new governors, and my appeal to them, please continue to be engaged in significant national issues. Also today, we are co-signing 2 MOUs. The first one is the MOU among DTI, led by Secretary Fred Pascual, Foxmont, MAP, PwC, and QBO on helping scale up tech startups. Through this partnership, the 5 organizations agreed to work together in organizing activities and events for the tech scale-ups and MAP members, such as business matching, network across the regions, investor meetups, pitch sessions, among others. The second MOU is on the Philippine Infrastructure Summit, Breaking Barriers, Building Dreams, which will be held on October 27 at the Discovery Primea, Makati. The signatory organizations will be PwC Philippines, Isla Lipana and Company, the PPP Center, or the Public-Private Partnership, and MAP. The summit aims to discuss the issues and policies to hasten the implementation of infrastructure projects and the revitalization of the country's PPP program, which has been identified as a priority of President BBM. In yesterday's meeting of the MAP Energy Committee, we're launching today the 2-part infographics and videos developed by the committee, chaired by Mr. Ernie Pantanco, with Ruth Owen and Baste Quiñones as vice chairs, and Romy Bernardo as governor in charge. We'd like to thank the group of Mirna Velasco for developing the videos, and of course, the sponsors, Meralco, Shell, and Aboitiz Power, for funding the development of the videos. Thank you so much. Keep on your calendars, November 3, we'll have the MAP Golf Cup for CSR, which will be in partnership with First Philippine Holdings, a project of the MAP Sports Fellowship and Wellness Committee chaired by Peng Perez de Tagle, Vice Chair Ebot Tan, and Ms. Maan Ontiveros as Governor in charge. Please support. I understand they're still calling for sponsors of this activity, and the net proceeds of the MAP Golf Cup for CSR 2022 will be used as follows: 50% as financial support for the training of selected Philippine athletes and coaches, like in the past, in the participation in the 2019 SIA Games that included Hidalin Diaz, EJ Obiena, among others. The other 50% will go to the MAP CSR Fund, which finances MAP-supported CSR programs like the MAP Teachers Training Program and the Children's Our Youth Development Program. Also, please sign up for the 3rd MAP Next Gen Conference to be held on November 11, Friday, in the afternoon from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Sheraton Manila in Pasay, with the theme Generation Shift, Mindsets, Motivations, and Management. This is interesting because the conference will discuss the generation shift from people like us, the baby boomers to Gen X, to millennials, and to Gen Z. The Next Gen Committee, chaired by Cliff Ayala and Donna Lina and Delisa Ridoloso as vice chairs, with Wilson Tan as governor in charge, has an interesting program for this conference. We encourage you to attend that so that we can better understand what is in the head of the Gen Z or the next generation, how they think, how they behave, and so on. Also, please block off your November 28th for the MAP Annual General Membership Meeting and the awarding ceremony for the MAP Management of the Year 2022. Finally, let us congratulate the MAP CEO Conference headed by Alma Jimenez as Chair, with Julie Del Mundo as Vice Chair and Donald Lim as Governor in charge, for the successful September 13 MAP International CEO with about 300 face-to-face attendees and online, mind you, online attendees of 4,000 on top of generating income for MAP of 1.9 million. Thank you so much, Chair Alma. Please keep posted on all MAP announcements. Thank you very much to everyone for your continuing support to MAP. Mabuhay tayong lahat.
ARCOA and GEOP, power of choice in the hands of business consumers. In the past, Filipino consumers, especially businesses and and were considered as captive customers of the distribution utility, or DU. ARCOA and GEOP, power of choice in the hands of business consumers. In the past, Filipino consumers, especially businesses and industries, were faced with this never-ending predicament: expensive power rates as well as being unable to choose where to source their electricity. Finally, after more than 2 decades of reforms in the power industry, consumers are finally kings when it comes to choosing their electricity suppliers and negotiating for electricity tariffs that will fit their budget, and in determining the technology that will meet their energy needs. Today, there are 2 programs that give business owners control over where to source their power from. These are the Retail Competition and Open Access, or ARCOA, a key feature of the Electric Power Industry Reform Act, or EPIRA, and the Green Energy Option Program, or GEOP, a policy prescription of the Renewable Energy Act. Prior to these programs, consumers had little to no choice when it comes to selecting their energy supplier and were considered as captive customers of the distribution utility or DU or electric cooperative or EC operating in their area. Not only were they unable to choose the source of their electricity, but they also had no say when it comes to the rate they were purchasing it. ARCOA and GEOP allow competition to work, which benefits the consumers by allowing them to directly negotiate for better terms and receive value-added services they didn't have before. How do ARCOA and GEOP work? With these two programs, businesses and electricity end users of a certain size or threshold, which are classified as contestable customers, may now switch to a retail electricity supplier or RES of their choice, one that best matches their requirements at the most affordable rate. The objective is to open the retail market to more consumers. But for now, those with a monthly peak demand of 500 kilowatts and above for the past 12 months are allowed to participate in ARCOA, while a monthly peak demand of 100 kilowatts or above is required to participate in GEOP. For GEOP, the same power of choice is given to smaller electricity end users, specifically to receive power supply from renewable energy sources such as geothermal, solar, wind, biomass, and hydro facilities. RE is the top-tier choice of companies for their ESG compliance and net zero goals. Switching from captive market or a franchise distribution utility to a contestable market under ARCOA or GEOP is easy. Simply follow these steps. Know your monthly consumption by checking your electricity bill. Find preferred RES partner from the retail market you're participating. Discuss and negotiate terms and services. Submit documents and requirements. Switching of suppliers could take 7 to 15 days to process. This does not change how you receive the electricity, but it will help your business by earning savings on your power cost and adding value through other offerings that your RES partner can provide you. These programs will not only benefit businesses today, but it will also affect our future as well. The small choices we make now will help build the future we all hope for. So when it comes to electricity, businesses now have the power to choose. A power to choose the good. A power to choose a bright future.
Okay, without technology, no business, so we just experience it. So the next part of the program would be the signing of DTI, Department of Trade and Industry, Foxmont, MAP, PWC, QBO, on a Memorandum of Understanding or Agreement on technology scale-ups. We will now have the MOA signing on the partnership among DTI, Foxmont, MAP, PWC, and QBO, just to repeat it. May I then request the following representatives of the signatory organizations to please come up on stage for the formalities. Attorney Alexander Cabrera, Chairman Emeritus and ESG Leader of PWC Philippines, Isla Lipana and Company. Mr. René Meili, President, Idea Space Foundation Incorporated. Secretary Alfredo Pascual of the Department of Trade and Industry. Secretary Rogelio Singson, President of MAP and Mr. Franco Varona, founder of Foxmont Capital Partners. While they are trying to settle in, I would also like to call the following witnesses. DTI Undersecretary Rafaelita Aldaba, Idea Space Foundation Incorporated Executive Director Katrina Rausa Chan, PwC Chair and Senior Partner Roderick Danao, and MAP Vice President Donald Lim. Finally, but not the least, Foxmont Capital Partners Investment Associate Katrina Magsadia. While they're formalizing the event and the agreement, let me just explain this in brief. Through the partnership, the 5 organizations agreed to work together on the following areas: organize activities and events for the tech scale-ups and MAP members, such as business matching and networking across the regions, investor meetups, pitch sessions, among others. Provide speakers for the planned activities. Have an exchange of knowledge and expertise for the mutual development of their people and other stakeholders. Number 4, develop and promote joint press releases and other communication materials about activities and participation in specific programs. Sheila? We're going to have a photo session. Ibaba nila. Thank you very much. Si Eduardo yun, di ba? Nakalimutan ko. Ano si Eduardo yun? Si Eddie Yap kasama.
All right, congratulations everyone, and thank you very much. We have a second memorandum of agreement signing. Thank you everyone. Okay. Okay. So as you can see, we have a very busy afternoon. The second MO Memorandum of Agreement signing now will start. This is among PPP Center, PwC, and MAP for the Philippine Infrastructure Summit to be held on October 27, 2022, Thursday, from 1:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. May I now request the following representatives of the organization to come up on stage. All right, so Attorney Alexander Cabrera, he's back on stage, the Chairman Emeritus and ESG leader of PwC Philippines Isla Lipana and Company. Mr. Roderick Danao, Chair and Senior Partner of PwC Philippines Isla Lipana and Company. And Ms. Maria Cynthia Hernandez, the Executive Director of the PPP Center. And of course, our Secretary, Rogelio Singson, the President of MAP. May I also call on stage Mr. Eduardo Yap, the Chair of MAP Infrastructure Committee. Our Secretary of Tourism is now here, so let's all welcome her as well. The summit aims to discuss the issues and policies and the implementation of infrastructure projects and in revitalizing the country's PPP program.
Yung pakunan ako mamaya kung nagsasalita. Sa waiter. Sa waiter. Baka yung waiter. Pero meron na ako. Okay, another milestone. Thank you very much and congratulations. The next part of the program would be the presentation of new members for induction. But before we get to do that, I would like to acknowledge the arrival of Secretary CHRISTINA FRASCO. So welcome, Secretary, to MAP. She's busy right now. Kindly settle down, please. Thank you to the PPP Center, PWC, and MAP for their participation in putting up this forthcoming infrastructure summit on October 27. At this particular point, for the presentation of the new MAP members for induction, I would like to call on the chair of the MAP Membership Committee, who is also the chair of Far Eastern University, no other than Mr. Gigi Montenola, past president, MAP. May I kindly request everybody to please settle down so that we can formalize a very important part of this ceremonies. Thank you very much.
I am pleased to announce that this afternoon we are inducting 4 new MAP members who will increase our total membership from 1,084 to 1,088. As I call your name, please come up the stage so people will know you a little bit better. Our first inductee is Dr. Diana Edralin. She's the General Manager of Roche Philippines, Inc. The line of business is pharmaceuticals, and her sponsors are Teodoro Padilla and Maria Aileen Abiva. Our second inductee is attorney Christopher James Ray Christopher A. Gaudiano, the head of Enterprise Risk Management, Corporate Communications, and Public Affairs Group of the Cemex Holdings Philippines. The line of business is manufacture and distribution of cement, and the sponsors are attorney Francisco Lim and Secretary Rogelio Singson. Our third inductee is Juan Manuel Hoyos, President of Nissan Philippines. Line of business is the manufacture and distribution of motor vehicles. And the sponsors are attorney Francis Lim and Secretary Alfredo Pascual. And finally, our fourth inductee today, Mr. Jose Paulo J.P. Soliman, Senior Vice President for SME and Head of the Micropreneurs segment of Union Bank of the Philippines. Line of business is banking, and the sponsors are James Morris Ileto and attorney Francis Lim. May I now call our MAP President, Secretary Babe Singson, to lead the induction of our new members. Please all rise to add solemnity to the occasion. Thank you.
May I ask everyone to please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, state your name, do hereby solemnly pledge that I will perform well and faithfully to the best of my ability my duties as a regular member in order to contribute to the achievement of the objectives of the Management Association of the Philippines. So help me God. Congratulations and welcome to MAP.
Again, thank you, Secretary Babes and Mr. Montenola. And let's all give a warm welcome also to all the new members of MAP. We hope that you guys will be an active member of MAP. There are so many committees. You can approach Arnold and his very efficient team to know more about the committees that we have here under the Management Association of the Philippines. Okay, so for this part, we will now have the announcement of elected MAP governors for 2023 to 2024. So I'd like to call on stage the chair of the MAP Nomination and Election Committee and the chair of Multinational Investment Bank Corporation, Ms. Malu Cristobal.
Thank you, Sheila. Good afternoon, fellow MAP members, distinguished guests, and friends of MAP. I am here to present the results of the election of MAP governors for 2023 and 2024. But before I do that, I'd like to extend my thanks to the members of the Nomination and Election Committee for their contribution to the exercise. And these are Ding Nera, who's the vice chair of the committee. There's Fred Pascual, who I think is in the ballroom, as well as Fern Peña, our cheerleader and chief encourager. Okay, may I also express our thanks to SGV, particularly the managing and MAP Treasurer, Wilson Tan, for doing the third-party verification of the results that were encoded by the Secretariat and the tabulation of the results. And may I mention that the services of SGV were provided for free. So thank you once again, Wilson, for your generosity. Okay, let me also share with you some important statistics of the elections. 523 members participated in this year's election, and this is the highest number of MAP members who voted in a particular year. This year's turnout is 48% of the total MAP membership of 1,084, and it is higher than last year's 46% and more than double the required 20%. Okay, at this point, I will get to the meat of the presentation, which is to announce the winners of the election. And it is a distinct privilege and pleasure for me. Let me mention that the newly elected governors will also concurrently serve as trustees of the MAP Research and Development Foundation for the same period. Their term will start on January 1, 2023, and will end on December 31, 2024. These newly elected governors will join the current 2023 MAP governors, namely Attorney Alex Cabrera, Dr. Ciel Abito, Dr. Donald Lim, and Dr. Chito Salazar. You will note that there are more doctors per capita in MAP than there must be in Makati Medical Center. So, here are the elected MAP governors, and I will announce them in alphabetical order and not according to the votes received. It's not also according to age or beauty. As I read out the name, if the governor, newly elected governor is present physically here, I'd like to request that he or she rise to be acknowledged and recognized. The first in our alphabetical list is Attorney Benedicta Dubaladad, founding partner and CEO of Dubaladad and Associates. The second is Ms. Karen Batumbakal, Senior Advisor to the Board of IT and Business Process Association of the Philippines. The third in our list is Mr. Benjamin Ben Punungbayan, founder of PNA Grant Thornton. The fourth is another Miss Maria Corazon Cory Purissima, Treasurer, Head of Markets and Security Services, and member of the Executive Committee of HSBC Philippines. And finally, to round up our 5 newly elected directors, we have another Miss Martha Marx Mendoza Sazon, President and CEO of Globe Fintech Innovations, Inc., or GCash. So let us all congratulate the new governors and give them a round of applause. And let me end by thanking the board for the opportunity to be of service. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Malu. Congratulations to our newly elected MAP governors for 2023 and 2024. So we go further to more exciting parts of the event today. For the year's presentation of the MAP Management Man of the Year 2022, for approval of MAP members, may I call on the chair of the MAP MMY Judging Committee, CEO of TEXAL Philippines, Mr. Ed Chua.
Thank you very much. To our distinguished guests, fellow MEP members, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank the MEP Board of Governors for the opportunity to again serve as chair of this year's MEP Management Man of the Year Judging Committee. On behalf of the MMY Judging Committee, I'm here to present to the MEP membership our committee's choice for the MEP Management Man of the Year 2022, who was approved by the MEP Board of Governors at their meeting this morning. As most of you are aware, MAP has been at the forefront of promoting management excellence for nation building. MAP the MEP Management Man of the Year Award for over 5 decades to recognize outstanding achievements of any individual in the private sector or in government, whether MAP member or not, who has exceptionally distinguished. Just to remind everyone, for the award include the following: integrity, prestige, and distinction in the business community, high qualities as a manager exemplified in his or her leadership, vision, decisiveness, fairness, and firmness in dealing with people. 3, exceptional ability for performing his or her managerial functions under exceptional conditions, such as creating and managing a new enterprise, reorganizing and reorienting an existing enterprise, turning around a moribund company considering the difficulties of the times. Active and continuous management at top level of a private business or industrial enterprise or a government institution for a significant length of time and in a manner highly deserving of the recognition and commendation of MAP by reason of his or her contribution to the advancement of management as a career in the Philippines, contribution to reshaping national values and orientation, effective service and tangible contribution to nationwide professional, social, civic, or charitable undertakings through personal initiative. The organization under his or her stewardship must have exhibited consistent, exemplary performance and achieved stability under the highest standards of business ethics and practice. And finally, the organization must be an entity operating in the Philippines, and the business must have contributed substantially to the growth and development of the Philippine economy. Now that the search process has been completed, please allow me to publicly thank the other members of the MMY Judging Committee who are past awardees and/or presidents, as stipulated in the MAP bylaws. May I ask them to please stand if they are present? The Vice Chair is Attorney Lilia de Lima. Attorney de Lima. The others are both MMY awardees and past presidents, Ambassador Joey Quisha, Ambassador Albert Del Rosario, Ramon Del Rosario, Johnny Santos, Tony Aquino, Lilia de Lima, Cesar Virata, and yours truly. The 8 committee members have served in the MMY Judging Committee for a number of years, anywhere from 3 years to 15 years. Their thanks are also in order to the following members of the MMY Search Committee. The chair is our immediate MAP past president, Gigi Montinola. Vice Chair is MAP 2020 President Francis Lim. And the members are the following past presidents for the past 10 years. Popoy Del Rosario, Mon Fernandez, who's here, Ed Francisco, Riza Mantaring, June Palafox, Peripe, and Marife Zamora. So thank you. As most of you know, the search for the Management Man of the Year involves a tedious process. Nominations are generated from the membership with the help of the MMY Search Committee. To ensure a wide search of potential awardees, the MAP Board of Governors has institutionalized the MMY Search Committee, headed by MAP's immediate past president, to identify and propose nominees for the award. The nominees then go through a rigid screening by the MMY Judging Committee, which, as provided for in our bylaws, is composed of selected past presidents and past awardees. With the exception of the chair and the vice chair, the names of the members of the MMY Judging Committee are not announced until such time that the judging process has been completed. The MMY Judging Committee served as the board of judges that chose the most deserving candidate for this year. All the 8 members of the Judging Committee were present in our September 29 judging via Zoom. At the start of the judging, we had the first round of selection via Viber, where 8 committee members were asked to rank their top 3 candidates from among the 9 nominees. The top 3 candidates got the highest number of votes in the first round of selection. For the second selection, the committee members were requested to select their preferred winner from among the committee's collective top 3 choices. After the second selection, the committee was able to choose a clear winner. After a discussion on the accomplishments of the winner, our committee made a unanimous decision to endorse that particular candidate for the award. The MMY Judging Committee's choice was then presented to the MAP Board of Governors for approval at its meeting this morning. And then, I'm presenting it now to the membership in this general membership meeting. If our awardee is approved by the general membership, The signatories to the citation will be Babe Singson as MAP President, Gigi Montinola as Chair of the MMY Search Committee, and yours truly as Chair of the MMY Judging Committee. Our awardee this year will be the 46th recipient of the award. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to present to you the choice of the MMY Judging Committee, who has been approved by the MAP Board of Governors. The MAP Management Man of the Year 2022 awardee is Mr. Isidro Cid A. Consunhi, Chair and President of the MCI Holdings, Inc. Mr. Consunhi was chosen for the following. One, his business acumen and management qualities in transforming a private construction firm into one of the Philippines' biggest and most resilient conglomerates. Second, his leadership role in his group's substantial contributions to national development, job creation, and income generation through huge investments in construction, real estate, mining, energy, and water distribution. Three, his unparalleled commitment to developing, training, and sustaining a Filipino management team and staff. Fourth, his generous contribution to education, especially in the field of engineering and science. Fifth, significant contribution in the form of innovative solutions to the housing problem of the Philippines. Sixth, his expertise in turning problematic assets and distressed companies under seemingly insurmountable situation into very productive investments. Seventh, being an exemplar of the Philippine entrepreneurial spirit, public display and self-promotion. And finally, his personal contributions to shaping national values and inspiring others through his track record of integrity, managerial competence, and professional leadership. At this point, may I request the general membership to signify your approval by raising your hands for those who are present physically, and for those MAP members who are with us via Zoom, please post your approved message through the chat box. May I see a raising of hands? Thank you very much. Are there any dissension? Can't see any. So there being no dissent, we can now consider our recommendation as approved by the MMP membership. As Chair of the MMY Judging Committee, I would like to thank the MAP Board of Governors as well as the MAP General Membership for approving our committee's recommendation. The conferment of the award will be tentatively held on November 28. Please note that the final date will depend on the availability of the awardee. Thank you very much, everyone, and good afternoon.
Thank you, Ed, and congratulations again to the MAP Man of the Year 2022. Before we introduce our highly respected and distinguished speaker, all right, he's already here on stage, I'll call again the Chair of Management Association of the Philippines Trade and Investment Committee to formally introduce our speaker this afternoon.
Thank you, Sheila. It's my distinct pleasure and privilege to welcome our keynote speaker and introduce her. Our keynote speaker this afternoon is the Secretary of the Department of Tourism, prior to being handpicked by the President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. himself to lead the tourism portfolio. She was a multi-awarded local chief executive, the three-term mayor of the municipalities of Liloan, Cebu. Under her leadership, Liloan was awarded top model municipality in the Philippines and most resilient municipality in the country. She holds the distinction of being the only municipal mayor in Cebu whose local government was given the highest audit rating by the Commission on Audit 4 times. She was ranked #1 municipal mayor in Region 7 and the recipient of the Presidential Lingkod Bayan Regional Award for Excellence and Public Service. While she was mayor, she was also the president of the League of Municipalities of the Philippines, Cebu, and the League's national vice president for the Visayas. During the 2022 national elections, She was the spokesperson of now Vice President Sara Duterte. She is a lawyer, having graduated from Ateneo Law School. Prior to entering public service, she was with the Romulo Law Firm, where she practiced international arbitration and commercial litigation. She is a former law professor in international law and a mother of their 4 young children, with House of Representatives Deputy Speaker Duke Frasco. She is a proud Cebuana and the youngest member of the Marcos cabinet, determined to carry out the President's vision of transforming the Philippines into a tourism powerhouse in Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, Tourism Secretary CHRISTINA GARCIA FRASCO.
Mayong hapon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Former DPWH Secretary and the father of the DPWH DOT, Tourism Roads Infrastructure Program, Secretary Babes Singson. Let's give him a round of applause. The Vice President of the Management Association of the Philippines, Donald Patrick Lim. MAP Chair for Memberships, Gigi Montenola. Chair for Nominations and Election, Ms. Marilu Cristobal. All the respected members and officers of the Management Association of the Philippines, distinguished members of the board and governors, Captain Stanley Nang of Philippine Airlines, Mr. Bruce Winton, GM of Marriott Hotel, my fellow workers in government, friends from the media, distinguished guests. I am truly honored to join this afternoon the very well-respected titans of industry who have helped move our country forward despite all of the upheavals that we have faced. So allow me to begin my presentation by expressing my heartfelt gratitude. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the work that you have done for our country. Please give yourselves a round of applause. I cannot stress enough the importance of the private sector in ensuring that the tourism industry not only recovers, but exceeds its pre-pandemic levels. Because considering the quality of our tourist destinations and the warmth, hospitality, beauty, and talent of the Filipino people, our country deserves nothing less than to take a primary position in the global stage as far as tourism is concerned, because that is the birthright of every Filipino. Clap if you agree. According to the UN World Tourism Organization, tourism has experienced a deepening and continued growth, notwithstanding the pandemic. Modern tourism is closely linked to development and encompasses a growing number of new destinations. These dynamics have turned tourism into a key driver for socio-economic progress. I bring with me the good news that tourism is now in the process of recovery, and as of today, we have already exceeded the original projections of the DOT prior to June 30 of 1.7 million arrivals by the end of the year, because as of October 10, we have already exceeded 1.7 million arrivals to the Philippines. Our country's top 5 source markets include the United States, South Korea, Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Our greatest challenge now is not only the recovery of the tourism industry, but to find ways to strengthen the industry from the ground up, to be able to improve the enabling mechanisms which would allow us to address the long-standing challenges faced by the industry and to finally take our well-deserved spot, not only in the ASEAN, but on the global stage. With the guidance and commitment of our President, Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., who has clearly laid out tourism as a priority in his administration, we have begun the work of ensuring that tourism becomes one of the major economic pillars for the resurgence of the Philippines. In light of the President's vision for the tourism industry, we have identified 7 main objectives upon which we shall accomplish the President's vision. First, we shall improve tourism infrastructure and accessibility by building roads, bridges, improving water systems to our key and emerging destinations. And I would especially like to thank your President and our former DPWH Secretary who founded the DOT-DPWH Convergence Program, because that is where we will be hinging our infrastructure programs on. Daghang salamat, Sec Babes. At present, we are currently working with current DPWH Secretary Manny Bonoan for purposes of improving infrastructure and accessibility. Second, we will engage in a comprehensive digitalization and connectivity to ensure that there is accessibility to our key and emerging destinations. And we are working closely with the DICT for this purpose. Third, we will improve and enhance the overall tourist experience in the Philippines. The idea being, we don't want to invite our tourists to come to the Philippines only once. We want them to keep coming back and to stay longer. Fourth, we fully intend to equalize tourism, promotion, product development as well. We will go outside the traditional portfolio of tourism that is traditionally limited to marketing and promotion alone, and will also concentrate on the full development of tourism products among our LGUs all over the country. Fifth, the diversification of our portfolio through multidimensional tourism, exploring not only the promotion and development of destinations, but also all the other components of the said destinations: heritage, culture, the arts, food, and the like. Sixth, we will fully maximize domestic tourism. Our experience in Cebu is that domestic tourism saved our economy at the time when there were border restrictions and lockdowns all over the Philippines and all over the world. And we have seen the massive potential as far as its ability to help our local government units as the tourism industry is still gradually recovering as far as international arrivals is concerned. Finally, and most importantly, we fully intend to strengthen tourism governance by working closely with the national government, the local government, and you, our private stakeholders. In fulfillment of the 7 objectives of the Department of Tourism, we will engage on 3 key strategies: connectivity, convenience, and equality. On the aspect of connectivity, to ensure that our tourist destinations are accessible through improved transportation networks and affordable travel costs, our approach is geared towards proactive and aggressive infrastructure development that provides quality access to roads, bridges, water systems, and various methods of transportation by land, sea, and air. As mentioned earlier, we will also ensure the improvement of internet service connectivity to our key and emerging destinations. We will also be coming up with a tourist life cycle super app that intends to cover each and every single stage of a tourist's journey into the Philippines, which will also allow us to gather tourism intelligence data to continuously study on how else we can improve our services as far as tourism is concerned. Second strategy is focused on convenience. We aim to enhance the overall tourist experience, as well as ease of movement. We want the experience of coming to the Philippines to be positive for all senses. As such, we will move towards developing travel applications to make travel and destination readily available. We will not be short on giving our tourists the fully enhanced Filipino experience. We envision to improve gateway access, both by land and sea. We have now engaged with the DOTR, specifically Secretary Jimmy Bautista, in a convergence program between the DOT and the DOTR as far as the improvement of our gateways. Our first three benchmark improvement of gateway projects include NAIA Terminal 2, Cebu City Pier 1, and the Davao International Airport. The idea being that we will improve travel across the Philippines to study the current inefficiencies of our ports, to improve these inefficiencies, and to ensure that we introduce improvements to the systems as far as airport operations is concerned. We want to be able to uplift our airports and other ports to a global standard. In addition to this, one of the best qualities of the Philippines really is the Filipino brand. And we want to be able to have a tacit manifestation of this brand at the very first gateways that our tourists would arrive in. And therefore, we will introduce aesthetic improvements to our airports by introducing Filipino elements by way of decoration, furniture, and the like. More importantly, the DOT will also push for a passenger experience that is stress-free, more efficient service, as well as reduced passenger time. With regard to the improvement of our gateways, which I mentioned earlier, the DOT will also provide a tourist information desk in all of our gateways to be able to ensure that information about our destinations is readily available. We're now at 80% on the design development of proposed interior enhancements of NAIA Terminal 2, and we hope to be able to implement these changes very soon. Aside from physical and digital innovation, we have also identified peace and order as one of the most important components of tourism in the Philippines. This is why we have already coordinated with the Department of Interior and Local Government as far as, first, the continued training of our tourist police. Second, requesting that our tourist police that are already trained have a longer tour of duty so as not to waste these trainings. And third, and most importantly, to provide peace auxiliary forces to the tourist police by coordinating with the local government units as far as training barangay tanods to help secure our key destinations. Furthermore, we fully intend to reopen Mindanao to tourism. And that is why we have already met with the Department of National Defense, and we are entering into a memorandum of understanding as far as close coordination to ensure that the bedrock upon which we reopen Mindanao to tourism is on peace and the security of our tourists. And one of the most important things that we have engaged in since the start of the Marcos administration is to address one of the most basic and important components of every traveler's journey across the Philippines: clean and decent restrooms. Last week, I was in Mindanao, specifically in Manolo Fortich, Bukidnon, as well as in Davao del Norte and Samal Island, after which I proceeded to the province of Cebu and the municipality of Carmen and the municipality of Medellin to break ground on the first 4 of the 10 tourist rest areas that we are breaking ground on this year alone, with more to come in the coming years. These tourist rest areas are envisioned to provide a place for our tourists to rest, be able to use restrooms, have a pasalubong center as well as an information center. We have prepared a very brief video for you to be able to have a picture of how these tourist rest areas will look. As you can see, the tourist rest areas will have organic and Filipino elements to be able to reflect the Filipino brand. We are engaging in the construction of these TRAs in coordination with the Tourism Infrastructure Enterprise Zone Authority, or TIAZA, as well as in partnership with the local government units across the Philippines. Finally, our tourists will be able to feel secure as they travel across the Philippines and also be ensured that their travel is comfortable and convenient all throughout. The tourist rest areas, since they have a pasalubong center, will also give our local artists, artisans, makers, and manufacturers an opportunity to have livelihood, since they can place their products within these pasalubong centers. One of the questions that is always asked to me is, how are you going to maintain these tourist rest areas? That's a good question. And that is why, in anticipation of problems in maintenance of these tourist rest areas, we have entered into a memorandum of agreement with the LGUs to incentivize the maintenance of the tourist rest areas. We've provided a criteria for the maintenance with each and every single aspect indicated there, including the availability of toilet paper, by the way. And if the LGU obtains at least 90% within the cycle of assessment to be conducted by our regional offices, then we will give the local government unit a financial incentive or another project for the LGU. To move on the aspect of equality, we fully intend to maximize domestic tourism and make certain that no tourist destination gets left behind in the process of recovery and development. We are expanding our tourism product portfolio and circuits. On Monday, we are launching a heritage, culture, and arts caravan that intends to develop in our LGUs an appreciation for tourism and an opportunity for them to develop their tourist destinations and products, with the DOT providing them with a product development manual as well as other guidance to ensure that we would be able to develop their tourist destination. In addition to this, we are presently improving the accreditation standards of our accommodation sector. And by the time that we would come out with the new accreditation standards, it will also already contain incentives for accommodation establishments that will engage in green practices and sustainability practices. The DOT is also working on developing new regional tourism circuits that will highlight nature-based tourism, film tourism, food and gastronomy, heritage and culture, farm and agri-tourism, health and wellness, the arts, and more. We also see opportunities for innovative tourism services, such as hop-on and hop-off buses across key destinations and local and international river cruises. All these tourist destinations will get equal attention and support as we expand ourselves from our traditional portfolio to explore multidimensional tourism. One of the greatest upheavals as a result of the pandemic is the loss of livelihood as well as the loss of employees in the accommodation and transport sector. According to the Department of Labor and Employment, there is a tourism workforce shortage of at least 12,000 jobs. And that is why I'm very pleased to inform you that to be able to address this tourism workforce shortage, we have entered into a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Labor and Employment, and we have already launched the very first Philippine tourism job fairs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, called Trabajo, Turismo, Ascenso. These job fairs have provided over 8,000 employment opportunities to our fellow Filipinos. This will be a multi-month campaign which will end at the 50th anniversary of the DOT next year, and so we fully anticipate that these tourism job fairs would be able to address the tourism workforce shortage. The DOT shares a positive outlook on the potential of the economic resurgence of our country through tourism, as our country remains a top-of-mind destination among travelers. This is supported by the most recent awards received by the Philippines, gathered from various prestigious international bodies and organizations. As we move forward, we will staunchly continue with our listening tours, which we started at the beginning of the term of the Marcos administration, to go as far as possible to meet with our tourism stakeholders, both in the public and private sector across our 16 regions, to see for ourselves what are the real challenges faced by the tourism industry, and to understand how we in the Department of Tourism and you in the private sector can work together to address these challenges. We all have a vital role to play in our aspirations of recovery and resurgence in the Philippines. The success of the tourism industry means more jobs for our people, more active spending activities, a more productive workforce, sparking a recovery not only for the industry but also for our national economy. I'm optimistic, as the President is, about the resurgence of the Philippines. It is our collective effort as key tourism players that have brought us to where we are now, and with their continued support for the tourism industry, we will ensure that not only will we recover our pre-pandemic numbers, but take on a primary role in the ASEAN and in the global stage, because notwithstanding everything that we have been through as a country and everything that we have been through as a people, none of these difficulties have served to lessen the beauty of our country or diminish the strength of spirit of the Filipino people. Daghang salamat kaninyong tanan.
Thank you very much, Secretary. At this point in time, may I request the Secretary Frasco to take her seat on the stage, please. May I also kindly call on the reactors, Captain Nang and Mr. Winton, to take their seats on stage with Secretary Frasco. I know it's already like 2 o'clock, so we're going to make this straightforward and very simple. We prepared a few questions to Secretary Frasco. Maybe we are going to summarize it into one question, and we will take one each question for Captain Nang and Mr. Winston from the floor. Okay? Just to make sure that they get a chance to also respond to some of your questions. Yeah. Yeah. Then I'd like to call our first reactor for his 5-minute opening statement, the President and CEO of Philippine Airlines, or PAL, Captain Stanley Kua Ng.
Thank you, Mr. Charlie. So, first of all, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. After the very inspiring and comprehensive message from Secretary Frasco, we are really delighted to see that finally the Philippines will be one of the top tourist destinations again of the world. And starting with the infrastructure that the Secretary mentioned earlier, so with the renovation of the infrastructure, airports, and as well as some increasing operational efficiencies of the airport to have a better customer experience, not just for the customer to come back to the Philippines just once, but they keep coming back. And Secretary Frasco mentioned as well, clean toilets. I think that's something that's also very important. With all the initiatives and the objectives and the strategy of the Department of Tourism, I just want to make our commitment. The Philippine Airlines is fully committed to President Bongbong Marcos' vision of bringing the Philippines as one of the top tourist destinations of the world. And we are definitely a partner in this initiative. So as of now, Philippine Airlines is operating its domestic flight of around 90% already. And in December, we'll be going back to almost 100% of the pre-pandemic level. As for the international routes, we are already about 60% of our pre-pandemic level. And of course, China is still closed and are very restricted at this time. So, but in December, we'll be going back to around 70% of our pre-pandemic level. I just want to make another, actually, our commitment again to the Department of Tourism that you can expect Philippine Airlines to be 100%. You can use Philippine Airlines as an instrument, and we're totally aligned with the passenger experience. Of course, after the airplane experience, it's the airport experience that's going to be the first touch point of the tourist. With that, I would just like to thank you again, Secretary Frasco, for a very inspiring and clear vision, actually, for the tourism of the Philippines. Thank you.
So thank you, Captain Stan. Let's now hear from Bruce. He's very optimistic. The hospitality industry is bouncing back. And 2 days ago, I heard his speech. Marriott is actually building a lot of hotels in the country. The hospitality industry is forecasting that by next year, they'll actually go back to the pre-pandemic revenues, right? So let's hear from Bruce.
All right, thank you, Sheila, and good afternoon, distinguished members of MEP. My pleasure to be here. Secretary Frasco, thank you for another enlightening presentation. I made a couple of notes on what you said so I could react to them. Regarding the target reached for international tourism arrivals by 2022, I am also pleased to say that we, as a company, have already reached our targets by October as well. So I can definitely join you in that sentiment, and that 2022 has exceeded our initial expectations by dramatically. So that's really the foundation for our optimism. And as we are managing or as we are monitoring our booking pace for the fourth quarter and the first half of 2023, that's where the real optimism is embedded. We are really seeing some major events booking, international events, and we are seeing the re-establishing of MICE, the MICE foothold very much coming back. So that's, for us, you know, we're looking at the tourism recovery from the three main segments for us, which are leisure, obviously the one that most often talked about, but then corporate travel and MICE as well, which is really that direct injection of capital into the economy. So we're working hard to tap into our 160 million global members of the Marriott Bonvoy program. And the most important thing we can do to contribute to that is to broaden our distribution in the Philippines. So as you know, we were together in Cebu in September, opening the new Sheraton Cebu, Mactan, Marriott's first resort in the Philippines. So we're thrilled. Finally, the most often asked question, when will you open a resort? So now we've got one, and we've got more coming. And we're going to open 5 more hotels in the Philippines, along with our local partners, who are extremely important because they invest, and we bring along our brands that are well known globally, our loyalty program and all of our members and all of our marketing dollars to pump into these new properties and bring new visitors and old visitors to all parts of the Philippines. So we are, again, not only optimistic, but we're robust in our action over the next 12 months to bring more business, create more jobs, and broaden our distribution in the Philippines. So very happy to support that. Lastly, on the, I think, one of the #1 attributes to the Philippine hospitality scene, as we all know, is our talent. And you mentioned the workforce shortage. This is a global crisis that we, quite frankly, are maybe not experiencing quite so badly, but we're not sitting back either. And we're very happy to join your first job fair. And out of those 8,000 job opportunities, we got 800. So we're pretty happy about that. We got 800 applications. So these 5 new hotels, I mean, they're going to create about 2,000 new jobs. So that's on top of the job shortage. We've got all these new opportunities. So we're with you, arm in arm, creating opportunities, and we're really taking a look at how we can overcome that little bit of the education gap of the last 2 years that the pandemic brought. Obviously, it took a hit to the classrooms, it took a hit to internships, that really important interaction with the young and upcoming workforce in our industry. So we're kind of helping, doing everything we can to rebrand the industry as an employment, as a career. And because it's always been a huge pillar of the Philippine hospitality economy. So you can rely on us to support you there. But okay, that's my initial comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bruce. So we've got 3 questions that we will just take in before we finalize our event today. There were a few questions that was actually brought into me, particularly for Secretary Frasco. So I'm going to just consolidate it a little bit, Secretary, so you can just take it into one question. How can the private sector assist the DOT in tourism promotion? Will there be any incentives for them doing that? And maybe you wanted to provide us a more insightful input on where do you really see the future of tourism over the next few years within probably the Marcos administration? What could be the areas of concern? What keeps you awake at night, if there is, as you actually hurdle the challenges of tourism industry in that particular context?
Thank you for those 2 very insightful questions. First of all, I believe that the private sector can largely contribute to the tourism industry, not only in terms of promotion, but also of tourism development. The good news is that President Marcos has indicated that the administration is very open to public-private partnerships in the development of various aspects in the Philippines, including and especially the tourism industry. The CREATE law was enacted to provide incentives for the private sector to invest into various industries, including tourism, and we do have existing incentives under the TIEZA, such as a reduced corporate income tax, as well as privileges to certain types of visas, non-obligatory payments of certain taxes if you invest in the tourism industry. And we have various operating and non-operating assets of the TIEZA, which we fully intend to offer to the private sector as far as full development is concerned. Because we believe that by way of partnering with the private sector, we really would be able to fully maximize the potential of our existing assets, as well as the potential of developing new tourist destinations across the Philippines. With regard to the, what was your second question?
What will be the key concerns?
Oh, yes. With regard to the second question, from the listening tours that I conducted immediately upon taking on the helm of the tourism industry after June 30th, there were 3 key challenges that kept coming up from our tourism stakeholders across our 16 regions. First is infrastructure. Second, connectivity. Third, the loss of economic opportunity. First, with regard to infrastructure, as I had elucidated earlier in my presentation, we fully intend to address the challenges on infrastructure by engaging in an aggressive infrastructure building program together with the DPWH and the TIAZA. In addition to this, studies by the World Bank would indicate that in a comparative analysis between ASEAN countries that rank high in tourism, where the Philippines ranks either 5th or 6th, we rank very high in terms of the availability of natural destinations, but one of the lowest in terms of infrastructure. So definitely, this is one aspect of the tourism industry that we fully intend to address. Second, in terms of connectivity, one of the trends that have come up, especially post-pandemic, is the desire to work where you do not live, to have a remote opportunity to work. And so we're seeing source markets from the Americas and Europe come to Asia to be able to engage in their careers and professions, but to work remotely. This is one of the challenges of the Philippines because of the difficulty in internet connectivity. And that is why we're working closely with the DICT to be able to improve internet access connectivity to our destinations. We're also currently in talks with the Department of Foreign Affairs as well as the Bureau of Immigration for purposes of improving conditions for obtaining visas into the Philippines. And that includes the provision of an electronic portal to be able to obtain e-visas, as well as to improve policies as far as lengthening the length of the period of stay that is allowed once you enter the Philippines. One of the challenges that we have also identified is the loss of economic opportunity caused by the pandemic. And that's why we're engaging in the job fairs to be able to provide livelihood. Trainings were mentioned by Bruce earlier, and the necessity of improving the talent of the workforce, especially with the education gap that you mentioned before. And I'm pleased to inform you that first, we are in coordination with the TESDA as far as improving skills. And second, we are continuing our provision of the Filipino brand of service excellence that will ensure that we continue to monitor and uplift the quality of the provision of standards as far as our workforce is concerned. Overall, the outlook for the tourism industry in the Philippines is very positive. First, because our product is not difficult to sell. We have one of the most beautiful countries in the whole world. And that's why recently, the Philippines was actually named one of the top 40 countries in the world. 3 of our islands were named 3 of the 25 best islands in the world. So we have a good product. It's really only a matter of improving the enabling mechanisms for accessibility to the product and the full maximization and development of this product.
Just a follow-up side note on that. So is there really a program for inducing more demand through the use of tourism fairs? Can you say something about that, Madam?
Yes, absolutely. Tourism fairs have been engaged in by the Department of Tourism as well as the Tourism Promotions Board for a number of years, both domestically and internationally. And we fully intend to continue these fairs and to add to them to provide more opportunities for our LGUs across the Philippines. As a matter of fact, in November, we're holding a North Luzon Travel Expo to be able to provide opportunities to our LGUs in that part of the country and to promote as well the use of the newly inaugurated terminal of Clark International Airport. In addition to this, the DOT is participating in the World Travel Mart in London in November, as well as many other travel fairs and expos which we will continue to use to promote the Philippines.
Thank you very much, Secretary. So, Sheila, you gotta help me pull in some couple of questions from the floor.
Yes.
Specifically directed to Captain Stan and,
And
Bruce,
Bruce.
over here. Would there be any questions that you would like to throw in from the floor, or if there's a chat question also coming from our online attendees? There's a hand that I see at the back. Can you please identify yourself appropriately and give us the question, please? Thank you. Oh, you need the mic.
Good afternoon. I'm Angel Rosales, President of Professional Payroll Specialist. I have a question for the Secretary of Tourism. I read all your 6 points, or 7 points, but that will take some time, right? My question is very short. What is your short-term strategy while all the other DPWH and everything, it's going to take time. So how do we increase it? Because I was just looking at Google. We had about 8 million before, a high of 8 million, 6 million. So in the meantime, while everybody else is doing what they have to do, improve infrastructure, connectivity, and all of that stuff, what is your short-term strategy to bring in back those tourists? Thank you.
In the race to recovery post-pandemic, it's very important to convey not only to the ASEAN but to the rest of the world that the Philippines is open and ready for tourism and travel. And that is the immediate effort that the Marcos administration has been engaging in by way of the Philippine economic briefings that have been conducted here in the Philippines, in Singapore, as well as in New York. And in these Philippine economic briefings, at which titans of industry in these countries were invited, as well as government officials, we have conveyed the short, medium, and long-term strategies of the Marcos administration, not only in tourism, but all other aspects of governance, to be able to ensure that we send out the message that the Philippines is ready for recovery and the Philippines is ready for resurgence. There are also some things that we can do in the immediate to be able to see an immediate improvement in the tourism numbers. First is, as I mentioned earlier, the improvement of our gateways, which shall begin soon. And we hope to be able to present some of these changes already by the first quarter of next year, improvement in our airports, etc. Second, one of the most important aspects of tourism as far as a foreign tourist is concerned is the feeling of safety and security. And that is why by the end of this year, we are establishing a tourist assistance call center, a number that you can call for any and all concerns that you may have. Openness is important, as I mentioned, and this is the reason why the DOT is pushing for the full liberalization of entry protocols into the Philippines. This started with our recommendation to the IATF as far as the lifting of the optional mask mandate, which was successful because the President has issued an executive order to this effect. Second, we have also already proposed to the IATF the lifting of the remainder of the objectives, or rather restrictions, such as the entry of non-fully vaccinated foreigners into the country, as well as the requirement of wearing masks only in certain areas. We also fully intend to coordinate with all of our LGUs as far as the lifting of their individual restrictions of entry into their provinces. So I've only been here for a little over 100 days, but we have tried as best we can to convey that a plan is in place in the short, medium, and long term to be able to ensure tourism recovery. Needless to say, product promotion and marketing will be aggressive as far as the Philippines is concerned as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Frasco, for that. We will entertain 2 more questions addressed to Bruce and Captain Stan because we're running out of time. So, ma'am, yeah, please state your name and if you can address the questions to our reactors this time.
Hi, I'm Donna Lina, and since the questions need to be addressed to Captain Stan and Bruce, the question will have to be, The current messaging for tourism and the national campaign is it's more fun in the Philippines. Do you agree that the messaging still remains the same? Or do you have other suggestions if you don't agree with it's more fun in the Philippines? So thank you and good afternoon, Secretary.
Thank you.
Stan, you want to go or you want me to go? We'll both react to that. Well, you know, I've been in the Philippines for 12 years, so I've lived with the It's More Fun in the Philippines branding since its inception, and from the private sector's point of view, it was a very catchy, colorful, and engaging campaign. It's a good headline, and I think, you know, in Malaysia, Truly Asia, for example, has been around for a very long time. And it builds roots, it builds familiarity, and you know, if it works, it works, you know. And I think that again, I'm not sure what the current thoughts are on the administration side, but from the private sector, it was a good campaign, and I think we're more focused on some of the other efforts at the moment from our perspective. That if that branding stays, we'll be fine with that. We'll be very happy.
Hi, Donna. So for Philippine Airlines, I think it's still valid because it's quite a catchy, like Bruce mentioned. And however, I think what the government's initiative is more important because as we want to provide more seamless travel experience of all passengers, so fixing the basic and fundamentals will really be key to be able to actually make it not just a marketing campaign, but really make the people feel that it's really more fun in the Philippines. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you, Captain Stan. We're going to throw in the last question over here. Question for both Captain Stan and Bruce. You've been through a lot of things in the past. Congratulations for recovering from very difficult situations, both airline and the hotel industry. So let's be more realistic now. How do you really foresee 2023 is going to be with Ukraine war, with inflation, gas prices, all of the cases, supply chain disruptions? Can you please provide us a little bit of an impression on how you're actually going to manage through 2023?
Okay, so I'll go ahead. So we are really cautiously optimistic about 2023 and onwards. The best thing to do for Philippine Airlines is to really invest in no regrets investments. So like improving infrastructure, improving customer experience, those are things that, and digitalization, of course, as many of us might have experienced, because digitally we're quite not there yet for Philippine Airlines. So we definitely have to invest in those initiatives. So we're actually quite optimistic, as Bruce mentioned also. We can also already see the forward booking 6 months ahead. So we can still see very strong demand for the Philippines. And also the booking is still building up quite nicely. So yeah, we're actually optimistic, however, cautiously optimistic about 2023. Yeah. Thank you.
So Bruce.
And we are also, I mean, I think there was a question earlier about short-term versus long-term. Well, actually, some of our long-term plans are coming to fruition. So that's the good news. The long-term planning is coming to fruition in the short term. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to open 5 new hotels in the next 12 months in the Philippines, in Palawan, Cebu, and Manila. So, you know, we're broadening our distribution. We are going to be heavily marketing against that. We're actively engaged in attracting major conferences to the Philippines. The hosting this year of the WTTC Global Summit was a great way to start that initiative. We've got the Philippine Travel Exchange next week. We've got a lot of things going on that will, in the short term, bring direct bookings and direct volume of tourists to the country. So we're pretty optimistic about that. And again, on the booking pace, Yeah, the world's a disruptive place at the moment, but it hasn't seemed to yet have affected consumer behavior. People are still traveling. There could be that little bit of that revenge travel, that revenge tourism we've heard so much about. There's also needs that have been on hold for a couple of years that may be taken care of. So, you know, we're objectively surveying that and saying, will that soften? There is no indication it's not, that it is so far. The booking pace is just getting stronger as we move through Q4 and into 2023. So there is certainly no reason for us to be anything other than optimistic at the moment.
All right.
I wanted to add to what they both said. As far as the optimism is concerned, there really is reason to be optimistic versus being jaded. And also that we do have winter packages that we are preparing in anticipation of a very cold winter on the other side of the world that we will be fanning out to our partners all over the tourism industry. We also have a guest incentive program specifically addressed to our overseas Filipino workers and long-term residents across the globe who will bring a guest to the Philippines. We will provide discounts in certain destinations as well as a travel passport that they can stamp and claim a prize at the airport. In addition to this, there will be raffle prizes for those that would bring guests to the Philippines. Finally, on the aspect of the slogan, I fully recognize all the efforts and the success of It's More Fun in the Philippines in the many years that has been here in the tourism industry, 10 years to be exact since it was launched. However, I think that after everything that we have been through, after the pandemic and the many challenges, calamities, and upheavals that our people and our country have been through, perhaps it is also time for us to give our country an opportunity to evolve, to include not just the fun aspect of coming to the Philippines, but all the other beautiful nuances of our country, to expose the world finally to the beauty of our culture and the Filipino brand. Thailand has been able to fully harness that by introducing the integrity of their Thainess in every single aspect of their tourism industry, and we fully intend to benchmark that for the Philippines. It's time for us to evolve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary Frasco. This concludes our MAP General Membership Meeting. We would like to thank, of course, our speakers and reactor, Captain Stan, Bruce, and our Honorable Secretary Frasco. We look forward to experiencing all the things, ma'am, that you have mentioned. So thank you very much, and we'll see you again in the next MAP General Membership Meeting.